can burn. I'm keeping my lamp full, waiting on the bridegroom. Cause when the kingdom comes, say I wanna be ready.
Welcome back to Lamp Oil Stock, a channel where we talk about issues from an Israelite perspective and try to get you to open your Bibles, think about what you believe, and bring that up to the surface to help get a little bit closer to the Most High. So today, we're going to take a look at another topic, looking at the kingdom.
Right.
How do you want to start?
Be a let's talk about the kingdom.
Let's make it happen. All right.
Okay, so we'd asked that question, what do you think the kingdom is like?
Right.
On our Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured we would just talk about it for a moment and give our opinions on what we think the kingdom is like. So, go. Come on.
Okay. Go. Okay. I can do this. The responses, we got several responses to that particular question. What is the kingdom like? And as I read over the responses, not knocking anybody, I think a lot of those responses are great. You know, no complaints. Thank you all so very much for doing that. But to bring up something to think about is when you get that question, what is the kingdom like, or what will it be like in the kingdom, something to that effect. When you get that question, a lot of people gave one of two different answers. Either they talked about the millennial kingdom, where the 1,000-year reign of Christ, talked about in Revelations, or they talked about everlasting with the Most High.
Okay.
All right. They didn't say. We got comments that covered one side or the other. They didn't really say. They didn't talk about one and then the next one. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right, which is kind of why we're doing a video, because there's a lot to really talk about when you talk about what do you think the kingdom is like, and a lot of responses were peace and happiness and joy, which I believe it will be that way, but it's very quick because who got that much writing in them?
Some people did. Some people wrote books now. Some people wrote books. But another thing was people also thought of kingdoms in a couple of, I guess a better way to put it is, some people don't really think of, no, I'm not saying it right. Let me try and start over. They describe what it will be like for themselves in the kingdom, and not what the kingdom would be like.
Right.
Okay. So we have a lot of people. There are many a line where people say we'll be kings and queens. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm with you. But that doesn't really describe the structure. Or what the kingdom would actually be like. That's personal. That's how it would be like for you personally, but not how it is. What
it means to be a king or queen.
Right.
So I wanted to define kingdom. So I looked it up, and just regular Google definition says a country, state, or territory ruled by a king or a queen.
Okay.
And so that's not much.
It's a monarchy.
Okay. The next one is the spiritual reign or authority of God.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, that was interesting. Moving on. So, anyway, when you think of a kingdom, at least when I think of a kingdom, I think of like Europe right now. They have a queen.
You mean England?
Whatever.
Yeah, I'm with you. Not everywhere in Europe is.
Well, yeah, okay, you're right. They have a queen, right? So she is the queen, and she supposedly rules all of England, and everybody else is under her. And then she has her family,
Right.
which are the monarchy,
Right.
and so there's the queen, and then there's her family, and they are the top of the chain,
Right.
and then everybody else is their servants.
Right.
And so that's kind of what I think of as a kingdom. It is a family that kind of rules over an area, and everybody else works for that family in order to keep the kingdom striving.
Right. I'm with you so far. Now, to go along with that, and that's also how I see it. You know, hey, we are one. That's kind of how this marriage thing works. But to go along with that, I have a verse, Isaiah 2, and Isaiah 2. Let's start off at Isaiah 2 and 4. Okay? Isaiah 2 and 4. Now, this, please go ahead, if you get an opportunity, read all of Isaiah 2. Isaiah is a great book. It's really long, so you might want to break it up. But Isaiah 2 and 4, let's actually start at Isaiah 2 and 2. Okay, I'm going to start there. And it shall come to pass in the last days, so we're talking about the end, in the last days, that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and all the nations shall flow from it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Now, here's the part I want to look at. This is actually Isaiah 2 and 4. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into
Pruning hooks.
Thank you. Nations shall not lift up swords against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Okay, now, the reason I bring this up is because there's a group of people that say only Israelites will be in the kingdom.
Right.
Okay, all right, fine. I understand that people say that. But if he's going to judge through the nations and rebuke many, okay, so that seems like he's going to go through the nations and kick out the people who are evil and keep the people who aren't evil. Okay. Now, I understand how some people can get to, well, that's just the Israelites that are in other nations. Okay, I see that. But then it says that the law shall go everywhere, and they shall no longer learn war anymore, not lift up sword against nation against nation. So that means that after this time, after he's kicked out people, there has to be other nations in the kingdom. Now, being in the kingdom does not mean, as far as I understand it, mean you're running the kingdom. It just means you're in it. Like, I could go visit England, and I'm not going to instantly become royalty in England. See, the way that I look at it, and I see it, that the nation of Israel will be the royalty, and then other nations will be in the kingdom. The servants, or whatever you want to call them, will be people in the kingdom. But it will only be, as I read it, it will only be people following the Most High, who've chosen to follow the Most High.
Right. When you look at kingdom, if you say it's only Israel, then who are you over? You know,
Right.
You're a king, and the person next door is a king, and the person next door to them is a king. Who are you ruling over? King says that you have some sort of rulership. Now, I know a lot of people, they hook on to the Bible verses that talks about slavery.
Right.
he who leads into slavery will go into slavery, or whatever. Um, but if you look at the Old Testament, because we say God doesn't change, so let's stick with the thought that God doesn't change.
Right.
In the Old Testament, the word that they used was servant primarily. Right. And in the New Testament, it seems like we went to slave.
Right.
However, same thing, different word, right? Because when we were in Egypt, we were under a tough bondage.
Right. And
yet we were still considered to be servants.
Right.
So,
well, the big issue is in English, slavery has that connotation. It has a very, has a lot of history here in America. And whenever you hear the word slave, that's what's attached to it.
Right. It's,
so.
The evil that happened to us is automatically attached to it. So, I'm not going to use the word slave. I'm going to use the word servant. Now, sure. Servants, they can come in many ways. They can be born into it. They can be. They can give themselves over. We know that as in the Bible, if you were an Israelite, you could put yourself into servitude for a certain amount of years because you were poor, to pay off a debt or something. So, right. But as an Israelite, you couldn't be made to be a permanent servant.
Right. This is like Jacob to marry Rebecca. He goes
right.
into service to his uncle for 7 years and the whole bit.
Right.
Same sort of idea.
So, as a servant, you have a kingdom. Those are the people who are ruling. And then you have the people who were serving, or the ruling class.
Right.
So, now in the Bible, it gives us laws about how we can or cannot treat a servant. So, a lot of people seem to think that all of these other nations that are going to be in the kingdom, we're just going to be mistreating continually for some reason, and that's just not the case. There are laws for treating servants, and since the Most High doesn't change, those laws didn't change either. You can't just say, oh well, you all treated me this way, so I'm going to treat you that way.
Right. Now, I do want to say this too. A lot of our comments some of our comments covered that sort of topic. We had a couple of comments that were that way. But you also see some of the groups talk this way. They just different groups saying different things. And there's a lot of Israelites that have a lot of different opinions. And really the big thing is going through the book, going through the Bible itself, and really trying to take a look at the kingdom and see and try to read it for yourself, because there's a lot of connotation in there that someone who making a video like us can just pull out a verse and say, oh, it's like this. You really got to go back and look at some of this stuff.
Well, if you go back to the beginning, God created Adam and Eve. Mm-hmm. And from them, every person was created. And in the beginning, there was no 12 tribes. In the beginning, everybody was just supposed to worship and serve the Most High.
Right.
But they didn't. They went off. They went astray. And then Abraham said, okay, let me look at these gods and what people are doing, and let me determine who is the true God. And he chose the Most High. And then the Most High rewarded him and his lineage,
right,
as being his chosen people. His chosen people to rule over the earth. But if you go through the Bible, you will see that he says that we are going to be a blessing to all the nations. So if everybody was just evil, then, God just kills everybody.
Right.
But we had Abraham who chose to worship him. So God said that he was going to save the world through Abraham and his seed. So the purpose is to get everybody back to worshiping the Most High and Him alone. It is, the purpose is not just to destroy everybody, because He could have already done that.
Right.
But you see where it appears that every nation that was still is. Now, maybe they don't understand what nation they came from, but it seems like when he tells the Israelites to destroy this nation completely, we always don't destroy everybody.
Right.
We always, for some reason, don't pay attention or listen well. And then, of course, we end up getting in trouble later on down the road because we didn't do what he said. But it still seems like he never really destroyed any nation off the face of the earth. And so now that we're coming to the end,
Right.
why do we believe that now all of a sudden he's going to destroy all of these other nations but us? Now, there is a reason for us. We are going, it says that judgment starts with the house,
The house of Israel, right. Starts with us first.
And so that makes sense if we have to be prepared in knowledge and understanding in order to rule the other nations, in order to be that wise person that is doing what's right and leading other people and showing them the way. So, if you go to Revelations 20, it talks about the first resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when Christ comes, and we go through and we do a lot of damage and kill people and set things, as everything else is going on. Because it says if he doesn't send him, then there wouldn't be any soul alive. So there's a lot of people that have already been killed. Christ comes, and we know that it says in verse 2, and he laid hold on the dragon Revelations 20 verse 2, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years.
Right.
And cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should not deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed a little season.
Right.
So, at this point, Satan has been bound. And it says, so that he could not deceive the nations no more. Well, if Israel is one nation, then, and it says should not deceive the nations, that says more than one nation, then we have to know that more than one nation is still alive on the earth at this time.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I want to bring up 2 points here. So, point number 1 is, as of course, we talk about the New Testament, we talk about Christ, we talk about those type of things. And I know there's a group of Israelites that just don't believe in the New Testament in any way, shape, or form. They just don't. Right. And that's them. But but the next part is, we do believe in the New Testament. But the other part that I want to bring up, and I want to make very clear, is we don't worship Christ.
Right.
Okay? He, an important figure, has many actions that he takes place, but we worship the Most High. I want to bring that up because we get that every now and then where people go, oh, well, you're talking about the New Testament. You must be like Christians and just believe that God is Christ. No. The Most High is the Most High, period. Christ is someone he sent.
Right. So it says that, a lot of people think of heaven. And the only time that you hear about people being in heaven is those people who were beheaded for the Most High, right? And if you read down to verse 4, it says, "And I saw the thrones that sat upon them, and the judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years."
Right.
So we see that those people who were beheaded, who were in heaven, in front of the throne, asking God when this was going to be over, are now resurrected on the earth.
Right. And ruling with Christ.
Right. So you have the Israelites that were saved. We got the 144,000.
Right.
That we know that are saved,
right,
through all of this, and then you have whatever other people are alive after Christ comes up and does this, and they're all here for this 1,000 years of reigning with Christ. Now, during this time, if you read in the Old Testament, you will, I think it's Apocrypha, I don't know, but it talks about how the world is split up, and that God split the world up, and every nation had its own land.
Right.
Right. So, at this time, you have these nations. They have their land, and these nations are going to go to their areas. But the Israelites, being the kings and queens, the priests, or whatever, are going to be the rulers over them. So, and then Christ is going to be the king, of course, and he's going to live and teach us those how we are supposed to be loving and serving the Most High, and through us we are going to teach and show the other nations how they are supposed to be loving and worshiping the Most High.
Right. Yeah. Now this is this is all the 1,000 years.
Right. Well, but it's also people are going to be having children. This is going to be a kingdom on earth.
Right.
It's not just everybody singing and whatever. This is going to be another kingdom on earth. Right now we're in Esau's kingdom, and he has his kings and princesses, and they are ruling the world.
Right.
But there's so much evil that's going on in the world. During this 1,000-year reign, it's going to be us ruling the world. And there isn't going to be this evil going on.
There's actually not going to be any evil going on, because at this point, Satan is bound for 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
All the evil people will have been destroyed during the tribulation.
Right.
So, and it says that he'll rule with an iron rod, meaning that judgment should come quickly upon what takes place. So, the evil's going to be very low at this point.
Right. It's not that people couldn't sin at this point, but as the Israelites being the rulers, we would take care of it immediately, and deal with the issue. Now, this is not, oh, well, we just want to hurt people, so let's figure out a way, right? The laws are going to be
in effect. I mean, this is it. Yeah.
And it's not just for the servants, it's for us as well. So the laws are going to be in effect, and we are going to be living on earth and ruling the way the Most High had wanted it to be. And this is a time of learning and growing, right? And then it says at the end of the 1,000 years, towards the end of it, then Satan is going to be loosed again.
Right. Now that's a whole different issue about what goes on. Actually, it's really short. I mean, it's really short. Satan is loosed again. He gathers up the nations. They surround Jerusalem.
Well, he's loosed again. He's able to tempt people again, get people on his side in order to come and fight one last time.
Right. But that fight is really, really fast. It is one line in Revelations. The Most High pours fire on them. That's like the entire line. It's really quick. And then we go into
chapter 21.
Right. The second resurrection, and a lot more goes on from there.
Yeah, we go into chapter 21, and then this is when the Most High makes a new heaven and a new earth, and he brings his kingdom down to the earth where he rules in the midst of us.
Right.
And the nations. Because at this point, everybody's going back to the same. We all love and worship the Most High the way that we are supposed to. And then there will be no more war, no more crying, no more any of that other stuff. And but it's still a kingdom. It is not people are going off into heaven. It is not everyone is just the same. It is a rulership, but it's an all good. You know, in that kingdom, being the ruler or the servant,
it won't matter.
Yeah, it's both areas are just as fine.
Right.
Okay, no. I'd rather be the ruler. Let's be honest. But
well, listen, we've all heard and sung that song, and meant it. You know, where it's like, if I can get to heaven, I don't know how the line goes. I'll be happy to just serve the food.
Right.
You know, and not knowing where any individual's going to be at. You know, I can't talk for any individual, but I believe that verse. You know, I believe that song. Mm-hmm. You know, and it seems to be that's how he describes it. It doesn't matter what your position is in the kingdom of the Most High. Being in the kingdom is that's it. That's the goal.
Right, but if you also look at it, it lets you know that there will be, for those people who don't have a resurrected body in the first kingdom, the first 1,000 years, that they will be having children and stuff, and this is how the earth is going to be repopulated. And then, of course, when Satan comes out, you have these newer groups that didn't go through the tribulation,
right,
that Satan is going to be able to tempt, possibly, and then that war is going to come. But the thought is that, you know, you have a lot of Israelites who want to just dish out punishments because of the worldly things that have happened to us.
Right.
And we don't really look at ourselves as being just as evil as some of these other groups that we just want to punish.
Right.
You know, we fell away, and look at us. We're killing each other. We're stealing from each other. We're raping and doing all types of crazy things. And then you hear some Israelites talking about how, well, we're going to be raping these other people. So we have done just as much evil. And, you know, but God chose us, and so he's going to be faithful and true to us and give us the kingdom to rule. But it's not to be so that we can become evil.
Right. It's not just a flipping of today's world. That's not the point.
Right, because today's world is not heaven or the kingdom for me, and it doesn't matter if I was Esau. It would still not be a kingdom that I would want to be ruling.
Yeah, totally with you on that one. Well, guys, thank you all so very much for taking the time out to spend a little time looking through your Bible, hopefully, and checking out the kingdom. Thank again everybody who participated in the survey that we did. Thank you all so very much for your comments. Once again, our whole goal is to get you to bring out your Bibles, think about what it is you believe, and hopefully develop a little bit closer relationship between yourself and the Most High. If you don't mind, leave us a thumbs up. And on YouTube, you can no longer leave us a thumbs down, so that doesn't matter. But, we'll change it around. So, could you leave us you gotta say thumbs up.
Oh, thumbs up.
There it is. Because you can't leave us a thumbs down anymore on YouTube anymore. That went away.
Yeah, who cares? Anyway, thank you all for listening. Got anything else to say?
Call me a Sharon.
Man, yeah,
Bye.
man, yeah, about the business. Man, yeah, got me spinning. Man, yeah, got me spinning.